Well, I made it. This is day one in Colorado. I am at my motel in Longmont, which is about an hour northeast of Denver. So, wow. So there was quite a big chunk of time where I was not doing any filming whatsoever. I was really trying to focus on finding my way around, making sure I didn't lose anything at the airport, which is actually a lot bigger than I was anticipating it was going to be, but it's fine. It is what it is. I am beat. It's been like 14 hours of traveling for me, and I'm done for the day. And it's only 3:45 local times, which means that it's about 5:45 where I'm from. So yeah, I've been up since 1:45 a.m. So that's a pretty long day of traveling. You can kind of see the bed behind me. It's a king. Kind of got a free upgrade there because I didn't realize when I booked the motel I had booked a handicap room. So they said, okay, no problem, we'll upgrade you to a single king suite, no charge, perfect. And yeah, I guess I'll just kind of take you around, show you a little bit. Kind of on the lower end of the budget for motels, and honestly, it's pretty good. I've stayed in worse. I did do a little bit of shopping when I got here, just because I don't have that much water with me, so I wanted to get some water and also some snacks as well. So I headed over to the closest Walmart, which was technically only 8 minutes away, but just the way I was going, it ended up taking me like 15 or 20 minutes, which again, I don't really care because I'm not really on a schedule right now. Obviously, I wanted to get a little bit of protein, not too much because these tend to be very high in sodium, but I do love beef jerky. I have not seen these in Canada anywhere, so I figured I might as well try them. I've seen Belvita, but not this particular flavor. These I used to have all the time, so I figured quick and easy in the morning because not every place offers breakfast. And of course, this is just like a trail mix of some sort. Now that you've seen all that, I think I'm going to stop recording for now, kind of get everything organized, put away here, and I will catch up with you guys in a little while. Alright guys, so I am back in my motel room, and I just want to come back and kind of rest and recharge my phone and just kind of get organized before I head out and find something to eat for dinner tonight. So as you can tell from the previous clips, this morning I did go to Chautauqua Park in Boulder, and it was beautiful, obviously. Not that I expected anything less. And truthfully, the pictures and the video don't do it justice. I was prepared for it to be a little bit more difficult than the hikes that I'm used to doing in Ontario, simply because the air is a little bit thinner up here, and I'm in pretty good physical condition, but of course I do have some health challenges that limit my ability to do strenuous exercise. But I was prepared to go slow and take lots of breaks and hydrate. So I ended up spending about an hour and a half on the trail. And I didn't go all the way up to the top of the Flatiron because as much as I wanted to, I knew that was sort of beyond the scope of my physical abilities. At one point I was headed back down, and then I ran into a group of, I want to say college students, or maybe some women in their 20s who were on their way up. I look at them and I say, it's steeper than it looks, eh? And they had a little laugh about that. So I told them that I do a lot of hiking in Ontario, but I'm not really used to hiking in Colorado. At the end of my hike, I had climbed 47 flights of stairs and burned like 200 calories. And I was only by like 8 o'clock in the morning. After that, I was kind of looking at the next leg of my trip and where I need to go. My rental car agency gave me an electric vehicle, which is fine. I have nothing against electric vehicles, but at the same time, I'm not so familiar with charging stations and how to use them and how to pay for charges and stuff like that. I did find 2 charging stations on Google Maps, so I went to the first one, which was closer. Got my car all hooked up, downloaded the app so I could actually pay for the charge once it was done. only to get a pop-up that this particular lot was for private access only, so it was a private lot. And of course, if you don't work there, you can't actually charge your car. I ended up going maybe 5 or 6 minutes out to the next charging station, which happened to be in a hospital parking lot, and I figured, okay, this has to be public because it's a hospital. But it was the slowest charging station. So I spent 3 hours sitting in a parking lot charging my car. And in the course of that, if there's any upside to that whatsoever, I did spend a lot of time researching EVs and charging stations and stuff like that. And I came across an app called the PlugShare app, which is basically just it's a map that gives you all the charging stations in your area. I wasn't really prepared to have an EV, and I think in the future I'm going to insist on a gas-powered car if I do something like this again, because yes, I saved money on fuel, but I also spent 3 hours of my time in one spot, and that to me is just not worth it. Tomorrow I'm going to be staying at a hostel for the first time, and I don't know what it's going to be like because I've never stayed in a hostel, but I've heard very good things about this one in particular, so I'm looking forward to it. Good morning, everyone. I am in the small town of Avon, Colorado. I am not exactly sure what the closest major town is. I just pulled off the highway here to charge my car. I checked out of my hostel this morning at 4:30 when it was still pitch black, and coming down the side of the mountain when it's pitch black and freezing cold outside is a completely new and different experience. But the hostel experience itself wasn't terrible. I found that it was a little bit hard to sleep just because I'm not used to sharing a room with other people. But I mean, I know that that's just how hostels are. So last night I came back from Breckenridge and I kind of hung out for a little bit, had dinner. And then I ended up going to bed around 8:30 because I was just really sore from hiking and walking around all day. Around midnight or so I woke up, wasn't able to sleep, was still in a little bit of pain from muscle soreness and stuff like that. And then finally at 4 o'clock I decided to get up because I figured I wanted to get on the road fairly soon because I didn't know how easy it would be to find a charging station, and also too I just kind of wanted to see what the sunrise looks like over the mountains, and it's actually pretty spectacular. You can't really see it too much. Maybe you kind of can in the background here. You can see the sun sort of coming up a little bit. So definitely worth waking up very early and doing that white knuckle drive down the mountain into Vail and so on. The only hitch I ran into was about 20 minutes after I left my hostel. I got a warning on my car that my 2 front tires were low on pressure. I pulled into a gas station, topped up my tires, got back on the road, and just kept driving. Went through Frisco, then I went through Vail, and now I'm here in Avon, which is about an hour east of Glenwood Springs, I believe. I'm staying in Parachute today at the Grand Vista Hotel, it sounds very kind of upscale, but it was actually the cheapest place I could find between Glenwood Springs and Grand Junction. So we're going to check that out, and I will take you along for the ride. Alright guys, welcome to my hotel in Parachute. It's been a very long day of driving. I set off from Breckenridge at 4:30 this morning and it is now 3:15 in the afternoon. So coming down from the mountains, it was just absolutely incredible. And you know, when you think of Colorado, you probably think of, you know, Aspen, Vail, Breckenridge, Boulder, like all the big towns, the classic Colorado Rocky Mountain towns, which is great, and frankly I do too. But honestly guys, I have to tell you, I was so thoroughly unprepared and so pleasantly surprised by how just breathtakingly gorgeous the drive on the I-70 westbound was going into Glenwood Springs. Going through Glenwood Canyon was like it was just overwhelming. Driving that canyon when the cliffs were just so high and the roads were so narrow. So yeah, I was going through there pretty slowly, I think like 45 miles per hour when the speed limit was 60, because one, I was trying not to burn all my battery power, and two, I was just a little nervous. If you are driving the I-70 westbound towards Glenwood Springs, you end up going through White River National Park, which is just, I'm gonna say incredible and amazing and spectacular a lot in this video, so bear with me. But yeah, absolutely something worth seeing if you haven't already. There are some little tunnels that go through the mountains, which I don't love driving through tunnels, even though I did the Eisenhower Tunnel going towards Breckenridge and that wasn't terrible. But the ones in the Glenwood Canyon are a little bit shorter and a little bit, I want to say, darker. I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe it was just that time of day, but it just seemed like it was a darker tunnel. And then after that, I actually pulled into Glenwood Springs for a while, as you can see from the clip. And Glenwood Springs is famous for its mountain-fed hot spring. And there's a giant outdoor pool, which I didn't take a video of, but if you know anything about Glenwood Springs, you know that it's there. And I just so happened to arrive on a day when they were hosting a 5K marathon, so I didn't really want to get in the way because, like, I was going to walk around a little bit, but all the roads were closed off, so I figured, nah, maybe not this time. When I was in Breckenridge, I stopped into this little museum. It was kind of like an old converted cabin that had been upgraded and moved around over the course of the past few years, and it had its final home in Breckenridge. And the lady there, who was like the little local tour guide, was just this really lovely lady named Sherry, and we ended up talking for about 45 minutes about the museum's original founder and you know, like the history of mining in Colorado and stuff like that. And so I told her that I was driving from Denver all the way to Grand Junction and back. And she said to me, well, that's really good because you'll see all the different zones. You'll see the plains on the east, you'll see the red rocks on the west, and you'll see all the mountains in between. So really this is the best way to do it. And she was so right about that, because I was prepared for like the traditional ski resort style mountains, which are beautiful, don't get me wrong, but it's such a noticeable shift. As you're coming out of Vail, you see the evergreen trees are starting to kind of get fewer and further in between, and then you start moving towards Eagle County and you're getting more of that red rock desert. You're getting more of the hardier scrub brush type of plants. And then coming down into Rifle and Parachute, now you're in like cattle country, right? So you're in open desert, you're in kind of like, I'm not even sure what to call it. It's like a sandier kind of rock, I guess. And I'll even show you what it looks like outside my hotel room, just because I'm terrible at describing rocks. But then you get to Grand Junction, and Grand Junction is famous for its red rock desert. So I'm really looking forward to doing that tomorrow, because I'll be there for, well, tomorrow and then a full day after that, and then I'm driving back to Denver on the third day. Anyway guys, I'm probably going to hang out in my hotel room for the rest of the day because it is 90 degrees outside and it's very hot, and the sun is way more intense up here than it is in Ontario. Although I will say, the one big plus so far is zero humidity, so my hair has never looked better. So even though I'm driving an EV and it's very expensive in some of these small tourist trap towns, and I'm very far from home, at least I can say my hair looks fantastic. Thanks, Colorado. I owe you one. Good morning from Grand Junction, Colorado. I just stopped into a Starbucks to charge my car again, and it wasn't even that bad. The battery was at like I think 60% when I pulled in. So I think I'm starting to understand how the car works and how the battery works, and it's kind of starting to lessen my range anxiety just a little bit. So right now I've got 15 minutes left until my battery is 80% charged. I would like to go a little bit above 80% to like maybe 85 or 90%, even though technically, according to all the EV forums I've read, it's not good to charge your battery that much that often, but I'm not familiar with EVs, so I'd rather just be safe rather than sorry. So I'm here in the most populous city in western Colorado, and I have a big day of exploring ahead of me. It's 9:15 local time, and it's already 82 degrees, so it's going to be a really hot day. I did grab a couple of waters when I was in Starbucks in addition to my iced caramel macchiato because I haven't had a coffee yet. So I've got water, I've got sun protection, I've got a hat. So I'm here until Wednesday, which means that I have basically 2 full days of exploring and sightseeing to do here before I head back to Denver on Wednesday. So I'm going to be going basically straight through. Although there are a couple of places that I do want to stop. There's one place in particular, I saw it on my way here, and I said to myself, okay, I have to stop in on my way back. It's a wild horse sanctuary, and of course, you know I'm not going to skip over the wild horses. So I'm going to stop in there. I'm going to try to get maybe some pictures if I can. If not, well, we'll see. So there's a museum here. It's like a museum of the West, which is like the history of cattle ranching and stuff like that. I was originally planning to meet up with a friend, so I've had to sort of rearrange my itinerary just a little bit because unfortunately we're not able to meet up this time. So now I have a whole bunch of free time on my hands, and I don't want to spend it just in the local area around my hotel. So there's like a lot of stuff out here that I want to see and do. But I do have to pace myself because, as I said, it's very, very hot today. So I checked out this morning at around 8 o'clock and drove about an hour to get to Grand Junction. And now I'm here, and it's like a huge relief to finally be here because now I've driven basically all the way across the state. Listen, I loved the Roaring Fork Valley. I loved the mountains in Vail and Breck. But I think that I am officially in love with Mesa County, and the desert out here is spectacular. You can see for miles, blue skies almost all the way around. There's a little bit of haze today. I'm not sure how prone this area is to thunderstorms because in Boulder they do have afternoon thunderstorms on a daily basis in the summers, but I'm not sure out here. I just know that there is a little bit of wind and a lot of heat, so maybe they do have thunderstorms. We're gonna find out, and of course I will take you along for the ride. I'm in my motel room and I'm hiding from the heat because it's about 40 degrees Celsius outside right now. I was going to go to this place called Little Brook Cliffs, which is just outside of, I think it's like a hamlet. It's not even a town, it's a hamlet, or at least some sort of ranger lookout station called Cameo. And I had all the best intentions to go down there, and then I was going to park my car and walk in a couple miles to see if I could see any of the wild horses there. But the road, the actual inroad to get to the parking lot, not even to get to the park, just the parking lot, is 5 miles of narrow gravel roads, and it twists and turns and goes through this huge gulch in the middle of the desert. And I got about a mile in before I decided that, nope, we're not doing that. Certainly not in an electric vehicle on a day when it's 40 degrees. So I turned around and I came back. So unfortunately that plan didn't pan out, but that's just how it goes when you travel. You have an itinerary, you have what you hope are going to be very exciting plans, but then you get there and you realize that you can't follow through. So instead, I did go to the Museum of the West, as you saw from the previous clip, and it was great. It's only $7 for adults to get in, and then I think it's $6 for seniors and $5 for kids, or it might be a little bit less for kids, I'm not sure. But it was pretty good. It took about maybe 45 minutes to an hour to walk through, and that includes the actual climb up to the top of the tower on the outside. And it was just a nice little museum. There were a lot of displays about the ancient Puebloan tribes and the Anasazi tribe, like all the original indigenous tribes that lived here in what is now Colorado, way back when Colorado was still a territory and they hadn't yet gained statehood. And then of course there were exhibits about uranium mining, there was a covered coach, there was a Cessna, I think it was a Cessna 59, I think. Just like a little small airplane that they were using during the mining boom. There was a whole exhibit dedicated to firearms like muskets, rifles, pistols, all kinds of stuff like that. And then they are also going to be opening a separate exhibit, I'm not sure when, probably later this summer, that is dedicated exclusively to mining in Colorado.